Right now at 11. Shaking the tri-state.
My teacher yelled, "It was an earthquake!"
The next thing I knew, the whole house was shaking.
A rare magnitude 4.8 earthquake rocking our region today.
It was really scary.
From New Jersey to Massachusetts, the impact felt for hundreds of miles.
It really felt like a train going by.
It's all people have been talking about today.
We're going to break down how it happened and how everyone is reacting tonight.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Natalie Pasquarella.
And I'm David Ushry. The question of the night, did you feel it? The earth literally moving under our feet this morning.
I know I could definitely feel it in Bergen County at home, and this is all anybody's really talking about today.
The epicenter of this magnitude 4.8 quake was in Tewksbury, New Jersey. That's in Hunterdon County. The U.S. Geological Survey says a quake this big and this close to the city hasn't happened since 1884.
People in New Jersey felt some of the strongest shaking, but the whole tri-state got a taste. In fact, the tremors were felt as far south as Washington, D.C., as far north as Maine.
And Lady Liberty felt it, as you can see in this Earth Cam shot from the Torch.
She is tough, though. She can already withstand 600 direct lightning strikes a year, if you didn't know that.
So, needless to say, this is our top story tonight. Our team coverage begins from every angle and every corner of our region. We'll kick it off with Jessica Cunnington, who's live in Newark, where, Jessica, dozens of people were forced out of their homes initially because of the damage.
Yeah, the city says this earthquake caused structural damage to 3 homes here on 7th Avenue tonight. We know some people have gone back into their homes, but we know others are being helped out and being relocated by the Red Cross. As you mentioned, more than 12 hours later, it's all people can talk about. And we're about to take you close to the epicenter. A normal Friday morning, turning frantic.
And all of a sudden, like, there's this violent shake, and the lights started going swaying back and forth.
As things came crashing down in Guy Toro's Hunterdon County, New Jersey apartment.
What the hell was that?
It was a similar thought millions of others had when a magnitude 4.8 earthquake hit New Jersey.
Sounded like maybe a plane hit the building or something. I don't know what hit the building.
From Boonton to Middlesex to the epicenter in Tewksbury. It rattled buildings and people.
The whole house shook.
I grabbed both my kids and I was just like, come here, because they were both, upset and visibly shaken, and I was too, I'm not gonna lie.
Hunterdon County officials say despite the strength of the quake and a spike in 911 calls after it happened, no injuries or significant damage was reported.
I think all of us collectively were jarred by what we experienced, and all of us probably feel very fortunate that there's not, more damage and more issues facing us.
Part of this structure in nearby Reddington, Taylor's Mill, on the National Register of Historic Places, came crumbling down. And in New Jersey, the earthquake causing structural damage to homes on 7th Avenue. 10 families were evacuated, one home now leaning on the one next door.
Right next to this household is. The whole thing must have been shifted.
The earthquake and aftershock felt hours later. Rare experiences in our area that Toro never expected.
In my lifetime, I'm 66 years old. I never felt anything like that. I mean, I know we had minor earthquakes, we've hardly ever, but this one here was like, wow.
I mean, yeah, if you had to sum it up, that's a good way to put it. Oh, wow. In terms of these homes here on 7th Avenue here in Newark, we're awaiting a response from the city. We asked them earlier this evening what the current status is. Since some families have clearly gone back into their homes, we're still awaiting a response from them. We'll, of course, update you as we continue to cover the after effects and aftershocks and impacts of this earthquake. Live in Newark tonight, I'm Jessica Cunnington. Back to you, David.
All right, Jessica, thank you. News 4's Melissa Colorado's in the city tonight getting reaction to this. New Yorkers are used to everything, but they haven't seen this, Melissa. They're handling it in the only way New Yorkers can.
They're used to everything, but nothing quite like this. Yeah, this morning's earthquake certainly rattled a lot of New Yorkers, including myself. I felt it over in Astoria, Queens. And let's not forget that aftershock that happened at 6 p.m. But you know what? Mother Nature cannot stop the New York hustle. Take a look at this store here on the Upper West Side. They are going viral for creating earthquake merch. That T-shirt right there, I survived the New York City earthquake. Hundreds of New Yorkers lined up to get one.
This is sort of historic for us in some ways.
The rumbling might be over.
I mean, I was scared for my life, to be honest.
But the earthquake that rattled New York and the aftershock that followed are still the talk of the town.
My whole apartment started shaking.
At Big Frog Custom T-shirts on the Upper West Side, the earthquake led to an epiphany.
I looked over to my store manager. I said, let's start designing, and we probably had a T-shirt up within 10 or 12 minutes.
Close to 300 I Survived the New York City Earthquake T-shirts now sold.
I'm going to wear it all weekend long.
Our own Andrew Siff was at OEM headquarters minutes after this morning's earthquake, where city officials gathered to assess the earthquake's impact. No reports of major structural damage or injuries. Buildings commissioner reminded New Yorkers that if they notice large cracks on buildings or scaffolding, call 311. Speaking of cracks.
And I looked up and I said, there's a crack.
Christian Dickens lives in this Hell's Kitchen apartment building that dates back to the 1890s.
So I looked up and I thought, yeah, that happened. And I looked at the artwork. There was some pictures crooked, some things I had to straighten up, but it was scary. It was jolting.
Even though the city added earthquake safety standards to its building code nearly 30 years ago, most of the city's buildings were built before the 90s, which may make them vulnerable to powerful earthquakes.
This is a great wake-up call for all New Yorkers. Earthquakes are something that can happen in this city.
And that T-shirt isn't going anywhere. They're still available through the weekend. Now, the city's buildings commissioner did say that inspections will ramp up this weekend. That's the latest here on the Upper West Side. I'm Melissa Colorado, News 4 New York.
Okay, I think I'm going to need one of those T-shirts, Melissa. Thanks. Well, several schools in our area had to shut down today, actually, in the aftermath of that quake. In most cases, this was just as a precaution. But as News 4's Chris Jose found out, some dismissed their students because the older school buildings could be unsafe.
Silver Lake Pizza in West Harrison, a popular hangout for students on a Friday night. The earthquake top of mind.
It woke me up and like the whole room was shaking. I didn't know what it was at first. And then I just realized like, oh, I'm in an earthquake.
Hours later, manager Frank Santalia feeling the 4.0 aftershock just before 6 p.m.
I felt a vibration and I was like, oh my God, what is that? And I heard some customers, they kind of like got up and jolted a little bit in the back.
9 miles away in Greenwich, Connecticut, Central Middle School evacuated after the initial magnitude 4.8 earthquake. Cracks developing, school officials relocating students, the fire marshal ordering the closure of the middle school until further notice.
All HOH buildings, facilities, students and faculty are safe. We will continue to monitor and keep you posted. It came very quickly.
Parents in Hastings and Hudson getting an alert from their elementary school. Kai McMahon quickly thinking about his son.
Yeah, it did. And then so getting a message from the school a few minutes later was very reassuring.
Second graders in their classroom feeling the jolt and remaining calm.
My teacher yelled, it was an earthquake.
Quite a morning for these girls, their teachers alarmed.
The teacher next door ran and was like, it's an earthquake. It's an earthquake. It's an earthquake. My husband just texted me and said that was an earthquake.
In Yonkers, the superintendent emailing parents. Our facilities department has confirmed that based on visual inspections, all our school buildings retain structural integrity. There are no leaks, breaches, and our requisite systems are fully online. Ardsley School saying our buildings have been closely checked and conditions are safe. We are proceeding with a regular school day. In Orange County, Walden Elementary School dismissing classes early from Most Precious Blood Church. The school, built in the 20s, according to officials, closed early as a precaution. A structural engineer inspecting the building for damage while parents picked up their kids.
It's something I never experienced in my life, so.
Most families resuming their day with no issues. Silver Lake Pizza, which is popular after school, working through that aftershock to serve its customers. In West Harrison, Chris Jose, News 4 New York.
All right, so devoting all this coverage, getting all this reaction, because we haven't had an earthquake this strong here in over a century. And for a lot of us, this might have been our first time feeling an earthquake like this. So we want to bring in Storm Team 4 meteorologist Matt Brickman to take us through the science of what we experienced today.
David, when we think about earthquakes, we usually think of the San Andreas Fault out in California, but we've got our own fault line here in New Jersey. That is the Ramapo Fault. And when we have earthquakes, they can happen in a couple of different ways. The tectonic plates well beneath our feet can interact either by sliding by horizontally, moving apart or banging into each other. And that's what we had today, that thrust fault, basically one plate going up, the other one being forced down. Now, because here in the Northeast, we have basically shallow, brittle rock beneath our feet, that sends reverberations outward in a wider scale. So here in this part of the country, a 4.0 earthquake might be felt 60 miles from the epicenter. Obviously, today's was stronger than that, a 4.8. To expand that outward, a 5.5, magnitude 5.5, could be felt 300 miles out from the epicenter. We had something kind of in between that. But yes, we did have reports of shaking from upstate New York out through Massachusetts into Connecticut and down through Philadelphia. The initial earthquake, a magnitude 4.8 this morning at 10:23. The aftershock just before 6 this afternoon, a 4.0. Both of those shocks would have been strong enough to end up on the top 10 of the largest earthquakes we have on record here in New York City. As it stands, today's earthquake, that 4.8, good enough for the fourth strongest on record in the area. You can see we have information going back to the 1700s on this. So rare, maybe underselling what we experienced today. Now, the good news is as we go into the weekend, Mother Nature calms things down for us. Saturday and Sunday are quiet. We warm up on Monday, but then we'll be looking skyward for the solar eclipse. We'll talk more about that in your full forecast coming up in a few minutes, guys. Back to you.
Okay, we'll see you shortly, Matt. Thank you.